So this is going to be our first Collaborate video that we have. It's going to be a learning curve for all of us because I'm just learning how to use Blackboard Collaborate too. So is Miss Wheeler. You know, we're newbies just like y'all are and have been thrust into this position having to do this. So I'm going to try for this first day or two to do a video beforehand just to iron out any kinks that we have. I may end up going to doing it, doing the actual teaching live in the next week or two. But the way it's going to work, I'm going to go over the lesson on this video, and I will pause my video when y'all are working problems, and you can still ask questions, and I'll be able to hopefully help you live by using like a white erase board or whatever. So we're just gonna go dive in and see how it works. I think that we probably have some students from a couple of other classes joining us, and we welcome y'all. So we're just gonna get started. Yesterday in class, we will have covered, I'm doing this before, so we will have covered place value and rounding of numbers as well as order of operations. So if you are not in my class or you didn't come to class yesterday in class, those are the things you need to get caught up on. They are in the Kaplan book, if you have it, pages 218 and 219, pages 238 and 239, and pages 324 and 325. So it was 3 two-page spreads that we covered, 2 on place value and rounding and 1 on the order of operations. If the one on the order of operations is a little bit too intense because the problems get kind of intense, especially after the first 4 or 5, feel free to go to Math Antics to just do some basic practice that has multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, parentheses, and exponents. So we are going to jump right into what we're talking about today, which is the basics of fractions. And I know that some of you, this is probably going to be really lame because you know this. And if you do, that's fine. You can listen along. You can work. If it's something you totally know, you're welcome to work on your Aztec account. We are suggesting you stay logged in to collaborate during this time just because no matter what you're doing, you'll get counted. Your hours will get counted. So if you have something else you can be working on, if you know how to do this, that's fine. But if not, I would really like y'all to listen and make sure you have the concepts down. So we are starting with fraction basics, which is in the Kaplan book, is pages 244 and 245. And we're just going to go over some really basic stuff first. I did some handwritten stuff here. If you can't read my handwriting, I'm sorry, but a lot of it's just stuff straight from the Kaplan book. But I just wanted to go over it with you and talk a little more about it. So in a fraction, we have what we call a numerator and a denominator. The numerator is on top. It's how many parts you're working with. The denominator is on bottom. It's how many parts there are in the whole. So for instance, in this right here, if this were, say, a candy bar, it's broken up into 10 squares. That's how many parts are in the whole. So the 10 goes on bottom, and we have three of those are shaded. So it would be 3/10 would be the fraction that represents that. On the circle, we've got 4 parts in the whole, so 4 goes on the bottom, and we've got 1 part shaded, so a 1 would go on top. So again, the 1 is the numerator, the 4 is the denominator. So when we're working with fractions, we have 3 different types of fractions. We have what we call proper fractions, where the top is smaller than the bottom, like 1/2, 2/3, 4/7, 9 363rds. I mean, you could just go on and on. Any fraction where the top is smaller than the bottom is a proper fraction. So it stands to reason that an improper fraction is where the top is not smaller than the bottom. So the top is either equal to or greater than the bottom. So for instance, 3/3, 4/3, 7/5, 12/2. On all of those fractions, the top is equal to or bigger than the bottom. So I drew a little line down here because 3/3 fraction bars are the same as division. 3 divided by 3 is 1. If you have 3/3 of something, you have 1 whole. If you have 12 over 2, 12 divided by 2 divides evenly at 6, okay? The only reason you don't do that on these two is because they don't divide evenly. However, we will get to how you can change those in a little bit. So the third type of fractions are what we call mixed numbers. And a mixed number is really kind of what it sounds like. It's got a whole number and a proper fraction. So not a whole number and an improper fraction. It has to be a whole number and a proper fraction. So 5 1/2 would be a mixed number. 6 1/3 would be a mixed number. 1 1/4 would be a mixed number. So I want y'all to look at these 4 that I've done right here, just after talking about that. And I'm going to pause this video for a moment, and I want y'all to see if you can figure out what those are. Let's see if we can get the definition of proper in there. Oops. There we go. There we go. So just label them proper, improper, and mixed number. I'm pausing it. Okay, so hopefully you got a chance to do that. 3/2 is improper because the top is bigger than the bottom. 4 1/6 is a mixed number because you've got a whole number and a proper fraction. 5/7 is proper because the top is smaller than the bottom. And 8 over 8 because it's a equal to. It's an improper fraction. Remember, 8 divided by 8 would just equal 1. So that could be rewritten as 1. Okay, so now we're going to talk about conversions. And let me look at something real quick. Yeah, okay. We're going to talk about conversions. So sometimes you have a number in this form, mixed number, but you want it in improper fraction form because improper and mixed numbers are both just different ways of showing an amount that's 1 or greater. Okay, so you can change between mixed numbers and improper fractions, and this is how we do that. To go from an improper to a mixed number. So this is an improper fraction, 16 over 5, the top's bigger than the bottom. Remember I said a fraction bar is really just a division symbol. So 16 divided by 5 is what that really reads as. If you write that in long division, it's this way, 16 divided by 5. Remember when you're doing long division, you divide this into that, it goes 3 times. You put the 3 there. 3 times 5 is 15. 16 minus 15 is 1. So you have 3 with a remainder of 1. What you do with that remainder is put it on top of that original denominator. So you have 3 wholes and 1/5 on that one. Just like on this one, 7 over 3 means 7 divided by 3, which we can write 7 divided by 3. 3 will go into 7 2 times. I wrote the 2 there. 2 times 3 is 6. That leaves us a remainder of 1, and remember it goes over the original denominator, that remainder does. So 2 1/3. So notice on these, 16/5 equals 3 1/5, 7/3 equals 2 1/3. The denominator stays the same in both of them, okay? Don't change the denominator. Okay, so to go the other way, let's say you have a mixed number, 4 1/2. To go from a mixed number to an improper fraction, these are the steps you go through. You multiply the whole number by the denominator, so 4 times 2, and then you add the numerator. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and then you put that total over the original denominator, so 9 over 2. So let's try this one. You multiply the whole number by the denominator. 6 times 3 is 18. You add the numerator, which is 1. 18 plus 1 is 19. And you put all of that over that original denominator. So I'm going to pause this for a second. What I want y'all to do is get out your Kaplan book and work sections on that page 245, work sections A, B, and C. So I don't know if you can see this very well. I don't think you can. That's not going to work, is it? Okay, so page 245, just work on sections A, B, and C. In section A, you're writing proper fractions for the shaded areas. In B, you're writing improper fraction and a mixed number for the shaded area. And then in area C, if it's an improper fraction, you're making it a mixed number. If it's a mixed number, you're making it an improper fraction, okay? And I'm going to pause this for I'm going to give y'all about 10 minutes to work on this. I'll still be here. If you have a question about one of them, ask, and I'll do it on the whiteboard, okay? Because if you have the question, someone else probably does as well. Okay, so I'm pausing it right now. Okay, so I think y'all did well on that. Let's come down here. The next section we're doing is writing equal or equivalent fractions. So equivalent, when you say the word equivalent, it is just a fancy word for equal, okay? So when we talk about the law of equivalent fractions, all that says is that if you multiply the top and the bottom of a fraction by the same number, has to be the same number, or if you divide the top and the bottom of a fraction by the same number, you're going to get an equal fraction. And we will use this later in different things. You always, when you're working a fraction problem, you're asked to reduce it to lowest terms usually. So reducing is something we use a lot. You have to raise a fraction sometimes to compare two amounts, get a common denominator, something that's the same. So you have to know how to do both. So examples of this would be 4/8. You can divide 4 and 8 both by 4, right? If you divide 4 by 4, you get 1. If you divide 8 by 4, you get 2. So 1/2 is equal to 4/8. It's just been reduced, okay? Same with 3/5. If you multiply the top and bottom of this fraction by 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 2 is 10, you get an equal fraction. 5/3 equals 6/10. Here what you've done is raised a fraction. You've made the numbers bigger, okay? But in both cases, you've just made another equal fraction. So I want y'all to try these right here, 4/6, 3/9, and 6/12, and see what you get. I'm going to pause it. Okay, so I divided the 4 and the 6 by 2 each because they were both divisible by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So what you have to be able to recognize is what both numbers are divisible by, okay? So if you don't know your division rules, like how to tell if a number is divisible by 3, how to tell if a number is divisible by 4 or 5 or 6, you probably should look into that. So 3/9, 3 and 9 are both divisible by 3. So I divided both by 3 and got 1/3. So 3/9 reduces to 1/3. 6/12. So here's something I want to show y'all. I divided 6 and 12 both by 2 because I saw, oh, they're both even numbers. When I did that, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 12 divided by 2 is 6. I got 3/6. You can divide both of those by 3 again. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So 6/12, 3/6, and 1/2 are all equal fractions. 3/6, when you went from 6/12 to 3/6, that was called reducing. But when you went to 1/2, that is called fully reduced because now there is nothing that 1 and 2 are both divisible by. That's as far as you can go. So that's what we call fully reduced. Oops. Okay, so here are a couple where we're going the other way. You've got a fraction 4/5, and we're wanting to raise that to 15ths. So you have to ask yourself, what are you multiplying 5 by to get 15? And then you need to multiply the 4 by it. That's how you do those, okay? So I'm going to give y'all a second. And let's see what we did. So 5 times 3 is 15, right? So if we multiply 5 by 3, we have to multiply 4 by 3. So 12/15. And then 2 times 4 is 8. So we multiplied 1 by 4 to get 4. So 1/2 equals 4/8. So you raised both of those higher. So here's what we're going to do. This is the first video I'm doing for today. I want you to we're going to just stop for a bit, and I want you to finish up that page 245. You're going to work on sections D, E, and F. In D, you are raising fractions. In E, you're reducing fractions. And then in section F, you're just having to think. It's making you think and kind of do something on your own, which we never skip the word problems in this book because the word problems are more like what you're going to have on the GED than anything else. So never skip those. So I'm going to just stop for a little bit and give you all a little bit of time to work. I'm going to be here. Just raise your hand at the bottom of the screen. You have the little raise hand thing. Just let me know if you need anything, if you need me to work something out. And we will start up again in about 10 minutes, maybe 15. We'll see.